Good evening, Tansy Aneen. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. There's been a major break in an Edmonton cold case involving the death of Joanne Ghostkeeper on Christmas Day, 1996. Ghostkeeper was found dead inside her Edmonton apartment, and an autopsy determined she was strangled to death. 48-year-old Brian Boucher has been charged in the death of Ghostkeeper. After re-examining DNA, police were able to make the link to Boucher.
Mr. Boucher was identified earlier in the investigation as a person of interest. However, there just was never enough evidence to make an arrest or to further the charges. Those advancements in the DNA technology allowed us to develop that profile and get to the evidence that was required to make an arrest.
Boucher has been charged with first-degree murder. Police say Ghostkeeper and Boucher knew each other. Well, more people are taking to the water now that the summer heat and sunshine is here, and that raises the risk of drowning. The latest is a 42-year-old man who drowned in Cross Lake First Nation on June 21st, and within the last week, 3 children have drowned in Manitoba. A 23-month-old boy died in a Winnipeg hospital after being found in a lake in Garden Hill First Nation last Sunday, and a 10-year-old girl drowned at St. Teresa Point. A 2-year-old boy also died in a retention pond near Portage La Prairie late last week. First Nations experience 10 times the number of drownings compared to other communities each year. Leslie Ann Morley with the Red Cross Indigenous Swimming and Water Safety Program says it's due to many First Nations being close to lakes and rivers.
As I said, we work by invitation, so we do rely on communities to come to us asking and looking for programming, and the way to do that is just to hit the website at redcross.ca.
Now, that Red Cross program is a fully subsidized and free to all First Nations in Canada. Well, RCMP confirms its search and rescue and underwater recovery team are on the Waterhen River searching for a missing 37-year-old man. Winnipeg OSIS RCMP got a report last night at around 10:50 p.m. Information they received was that the man was last seen on a raft on the Waterhen River with a 21-year-old female who was later located walking on the riverbank alone. A witness has reported seeing the raft on the river but with nobody on it. At this time, there are a number of community resources as well as the Winnipeg OSIS RCMP currently searching the water as well as the shoreline in the area. A grieving father will bring his message about saying no thanks to drugs to Winnipeg. Joe Foray's No Thanks, I'm Good awareness walk begins at noon on Sunday. The event starts at the Forks and will end with speeches at the legislature. Foray says his 31-year-old son Harlan was known for saying no thanks to drugs. He says Harlan's decision 6 weeks ago to try what he and his friends thought was ecstasy cost him his life. Foray has been spreading the word about fentanyl poisoning ever since.
It has given me some place to put my anger, some place to put my frustration. I can't make sense of what happened that night, but I know my son. Today we're dealing with a killer that's lurking out there and all kinds of drugs, and it's taking our future away. It's killing our youth.
Treaty annuity payments are being handed out across most parts of Canada. $5 a year for each treaty Indian in exchange for extinguishing title to vast territories of land. You get the $5 and you get to keep some hunting, education, and health rights. Canada has done much better establishing itself as a major global economic power. Our Truth and Politics panel picks it up from here.
Carrie Negon, great to see you as always. Carrie, we'll start with you, and it is that time of year when we see people posting pictures of their $5 bills, or in some cases a lot more, and photos of long lineups to pick up their treaty money. What is the significance, do you think, of these treaties in 2023?
The significance is not the dollar amount. What it is us acknowledging that these treaties are still alive, they still exist, and there's still that relationship. Yeah, it's only $5, but that's a symbol of the agreement our ancestors signed with Canada to share the land. Obviously, we've kind of got the short end of the stick so far, but I'm hoping that with these treaties still being alive, that one day these promises that were made at the signing of the treaty will be fulfilled. And we're seeing a lot more progress in terms of these treaties, and it leaves me hopeful that maybe not me, but maybe my children or my grandchildren will reap all the benefits that our forefathers had the foresight to put into treaty.
Nigan, your thoughts on the importance of treaties in 2023?
Treaties are always about tomorrow. They're not about yesterday. And that was a message that I heard from Treaty Commissioner Jamie Wilson years ago. It's always stuck with me because that's how he viewed treaties as the Treaty Commissioner of Manitoba. It's a very true statement because what treaties are is about our children. It's about your children, my children, everyone's children, living together, working together, and most ultimately marrying, getting to make families together. Treaties, if treaties had been fulfilled, there wouldn't be Indigenous and settler. We wouldn't be using those terms. We'd be using family. Everyone would be recognizing each other as family. Now, unfortunately, those treaties have never been fulfilled because Canada and the Crown have undermined treaties and treated them very much as land purchase agreements instead of what we had intended as First Nations people, which was responsibility sharing, about building community and co-governance. It's about all of us benefiting from this beautiful place that we live in. And while people are still currently benefiting from treaty, particularly Canadians, it is First Nations who have suffered from the failure of Canada to fulfill those treaties, thinking that treaties are simply if we just give you a pair of glasses or a few hunting and fishing rights here and there, or that we recognize that we have to pay for a few schools on reserve or a couple kids go to university. That's not treaty. That's how Canada views treaty. Of course, that's how we have to operate in the language of treaty. But most importantly, treaty was about us having co-governance, about sharing every single penny that comes out of the land and the resource of this place, and recognizing that the non-humans are animals, or water, or earth that is cared for and thought about at the same time.
Well, Kerry, on that point, there was a settlement reached in the past week here with the Robinson-Huron treaty bands that are north of Lake Superior. It's going to cost the province of Ontario and the federal government $10 billion because the annuity that was being paid was $4. What do you think this could mean for others, if anything?
I think it sets precedent, and I think what it does is when a lot of the treaty talk, the treaty language, learn the cunning of the white man, I think our forefathers recognized that for us to be equals, we needed to learn the language, we needed to learn not only just the education, we needed to learn the words and how to apply them. And now we have Indigenous people, First Nations people sitting in places where decisions are being made. They sit in the federal government, provincial government, municipal governments, they're lawyers, they're doctors. And so we are finally seeing or reaping the benefits of all the efforts that our grandfathers, our grandmothers put forth to make sure that we are still here and that we keep fighting for what was promised. The fulfillment of the treaties, and to see that the Robinson-Huron Treaty and their settlement, it leaves me with hope. And I could just see some of the treaty keepers, the ones that still talk about a treaty, finally seeing some results from everything, all the stories that they've carried on, because all of these treaties have been passed down orally, and everything that was promised, we know about it. We have people who are keepers of this history, and we have not forgotten. And so now we're finally seeing something happening, but it has been a group effort across the board.
Nigan, modern day treaty is something we've been hearing about lately. The Manitoba Métis Federation is said to be ready to sign such one with Ottawa. What do you think the significance of that is and what it could mean?
When it comes to the recent treaty that the MMF is undergoing, the MMF has made tremendous strides with the federal Liberals because they have a very close relationship. Unfortunately, that's going to lead to some challenges here in Manitoba. There is much land owed to Treaty 1 First Nations, Treaty 2 First Nations, virtually everyone who was under one of the 5 treaties that cover Manitoba. That is the same land that the Manitoba Métis Federation is going to be negotiating for because, and rightfully so, I mean, the Métis are owed land. They have never been delivered that land under scrip under the Manitoba Act. Many Métis have called the Manitoba Act a failed treaty or a treaty that's never been obligated or never been the responsibilities upheld. And so the fact is that the Manitoba Métis Federation do have a right to land. They have a right to be able to advocate for their presence. And I think they would get First Nations on their side. The challenge will be is that those who under a treaty, First Nations, the 63 First Nations of Manitoba, are inevitably going to come into conflict with Métis claims for land. And the question will be is, will it be First Nations who may not have the same favorable position as the Manitoba Métis Federation has with the federal Liberals at the moment, or will it be lead to a conflict that will perhaps be a stalemate? Because the fact is that in some of the major land claim settlements, the Métis have been front the sidelines, have not been involved. The Capion Barracks in Manitoba comes to mind. The Métis Federation was generally cut out of what should have been them included, at least considered anyways, when it comes to the issue of land settlement in Manitoba. And so I think we see a potential conflict coming in the future, but my hope would be is that cooler heads will prevail and people will come to the table and be invested in each other, because there is no one that has a deeper tie than the Métis Nation of Manitoba and the 63 First Nations.
Cooler heads, we hope, will prevail. Carrie Negon, we'll have to leave it there. Appreciate your time.
Miigwech, thanks.
All right, we have to pause our news for a moment. When we return, Miss Sandy Bay and the Rainbow Tornadoes hit the stage at Indigenous Day Live this week.
For me, I just like to spread the diversity in it and just do it in drag, and because it's different. Right?
Welcome back to APTN National News. Like all APTN Indigenous Day Live events, this year's festivities would not be complete without some form of traditional dancing and movement. This year saw just that with Miss Sandy Bay and the Rainbow Tornadoes, as well as the Wild Moccasin Dancers.
Yes, for sure.
Miss Sandy Bay and the Rainbow Tornadoes certainly live up to the group's name. With their bright, dazzling attire and quick feet, it's almost like you've been hit by a dancing tornado. The LGBTQ group recently started during the pandemic as they saw a need to cheer up the spirits of others.
We just love to dance, and we just like to add drag and LGBTQ, and we like to add diversity to it, and we just like to entertain and just make people smile. So for me, I just like to spread the diversity in it and just do it in drag, and because it's different.
The group all have the same reasons when it comes to what they love about performing.
Oh, I love the music. That's what I love, and the happiness that it brings to people. Yeah, and just to spread the culture.
I just fell in love with all the different steps and all my dance family throughout the years, and just spreading my culture.
I like spreading the culture around everywhere where we go to dance, and I've made so many friends over the years that I've danced.
Ryan Richard sees the importance of being an Indigenous LGBTQ group showcasing their culture.
Because we've been pushed out in the shadows for too long, it's time for us to bring ourselves out there, and then just how better way to do it through dance. So, and just to spread that love. And look at us, we're so colorful.
And also showcasing some dancing and culture were the Wild Moccasin Dancers. The duo celebrates their culture through the beautiful dance movements. Nyla Carpentier started dancing at 2 years old.
I love that it brings my family together, my friends together. It's something I've been doing since I was 2 years old, and I just love that it just brings a lot of joy to my family.
David Whitebean hopes folks watching can understand a bit of what the performance is all about.
medicine that's being shared. Not all the time do the spectators really know what they're seeing, but we're, with the intention of what we're up to, conveying that message of like, this is a healing, but this is also an expression of art, and that's something that we really want to be able to share and convey to others, is that, the art is still alive, and we want to continue that.
Carpentier says the performance is not only for Indigenous people, but everyone.
It's showing that we're, as Indigenous people, we're still here, but we're also growing and evolving in our culture, our songs and our dances, and that we're always adding to it. And it's to show, the young people and the youth that they can also be creative and expressive. And then all the non-Indigenous people can see that we're not like stuck or stagnant, that we're always growing and evolving. And that's so important, a part of our reconnecting and reclaiming.
It's time to step aside briefly one more time. We have a very special photo of the day coming up. Plus, a concert in BC aims to connect youth with the culture.
English, the bilingual concert.
It definitely feels unusual and just a bit weird almost that everyone is taking part in a culture that I've known all my life.
Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Our very own Priscilla Wolf graduated with her master's in journalism at the University of Regina recently. Priscilla is our reporter in Saskatoon and a member of Mistawassa's Nehiyawak First Nation. Congratulations, Priscilla. Everybody here is very, very proud of you. This weekend, be sure to send us a photo to share at aptn.ca to be our next photo of the day. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. We start on the East Coast at 23 in St. John's and 29 in Halifax, 16 in Cartwright and 21 in rain in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Some more rain and 23 in Quebec City and 24 in rain in Montreal. Raining and 26 in Toronto and 29 in rain in North Bay. Rain continues in Wawa and 26 degrees and clear and 24 in Big Trout Lake. Clear and 26 in Thompson and clear and 27 in Norway House. 24 degrees in Barons River and a mix of sun and cloud and 27 in Winnipeg. 26 in Regina and clear and 28 in Saskatoon. Some rain and 26 in Buffalo Narrows and showers and 24 in Stony Rapids. Moving west, to rain and 24 in Fort Chipewyan and showers and 27 in Peace River. The rain continues in Edmonton and 26 and 25 in showers in Calgary. Mix of sun and cloud and 21 in Vancouver and 24 in Campbell River. 26 degrees in Smithers and 24 in Dease Lake. 23 in showers in Whitehorse and 22 in Dawson. 19 degrees in Norman Wells and 19 in Wrigley. Clear and 19 in Fort McPherson and 15 degrees in Colville Lake. 9 degrees in Cambridge Bay and 14 in Chesterfield. 3 degrees in Arctic Bay and 11 in Iqaluit. Now to British Columbia, where a special concert is happening that aims to reconnect Indigenous youth with their language and culture. APTN's Tina House has this story.
For these students at the Imagine High Integrated Arts and Technology Secondary School, the excitement is building as they prepare to perform the Voice of Stream concert for the public in honor of National Indigenous Day. Singing in the traditional language of Hulkamalum, the traditional Stolo language of the Fraser Valley, and English, the bilingual concerts are the first of their kind to be performed in a setting like this. In collaboration with the singing and drumming or other students in the rock band program. For student Keanu Ritchie, who is from the Stolo Nation, this concert is a way for them and other Indigenous kids to learn their language and share with the public the cultural beauty of the Stolo people.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess it's nice to see. It definitely feels unusual and just a bit weird almost that everyone is taking part in a culture that I've known all my life, and because normally I'm not used to being around people who, I don't know, just are interested and want to know more.
For non-Indigenous student Percy Murphy, this experience is something that she will never forget.
It's honestly been amazing. Like, I haven't lived in Chilliwack too long, and the time that I have been living here, I've been opened up to so much more culture, and being able to witness the Indigenous peoples and seeing what their culture is like, it's been amazing. Because when you live in the city, you're mostly sheltered from a lot of it. And so coming out to a smaller town like this, you really do get to see more.
Brooke Haller is the principal of the school. She says the idea came from a quick conversation one day, and she's thrilled it's actually happening.
The idea came from the Stalo Research and Education Center, and we had this beautiful partnership opportunity to work with Good Medicine Projects. And when we brought it back to our team, they really worked to make it alive, and what resulted was just this beautiful project on reconciliation that brings in the voices of community, that gives students a voice as change agents, and just gives us a chance to share that learning opportunity with our larger community.
Listen to the stream, what a laugh to stop to love the stream as a voice.
And this is the result of all that collaboration. For Johnny Williams, he says it's truly magical to see all of these kids come together to sing the language of his people.
To be able to help and teach our Halkamalam language, as my grandmother is our last fluent speaker. And so to be part of this and to see and hear our language be spoken by many children of all different backgrounds, it's just truly amazing.
The Voice of Stream concert is free for the public and will be streamed through all social media platforms. Tina House, APTN National News, Chilliwack.
The water is clear.
And lastly, APTN News has won the 2023 Nausea Elias Boudinot Free Press Award for our ongoing coverage of Narissa and Odelia Cusant's wrongful conviction case. The award recognizes dedication and commitment to upholding freedom of the press, information, and transparency. APTN News fought against a publication ban brought by Saskatchewan Crown prosecutors. At a bail hearing in November of 2022, the ban was denied after it was successfully argued that the media plays a crucial role in cases of wrongful conviction. The Cusant sisters were released on bail March 27th, pending the results of their ministerial review. And huge congratulations to the entire newsroom, web team, and all of APTN in such an incredible achievement. And that is a great way to end our show. If you need any more information on any of our stories from tonight or the past week, aptnnews.ca is a great source for you, for all of us here. Thank you so much for joining us. Miigwech, Kinanaskimton. Have a great night.